Day 2 kicked off warm but under moody, overcast skies as we rolled out from the Reedsport area, heading south on US 101. We didn't stay on it long before peeling off to skirt the east side of Coos Bay. The route threw us into a gauntlet of tight, banked hairpins that soon eased into a breezy rolling waterfront cruise. What a fantastic warm-up for the day, twisty roads that kept us grinning with delightful water views. But you'll just have to take my word for it because some genius, ahem, botched the video and left the GoPro off. From Coos Bay, we darted south along shady forested backroads, crossing the South Slough right at the quaint fishing hamlet of Charleston. And that's when we plowed straight into the undisputed heavyweight champion of olfactory assault, a stench so foul, so disgustingly putrid, so eye-wateringly rancid that it could peel paint off a battleship and make a skunk file a restraining order. In my 49 trips around the sun, I've never gagged harder. Whatever was rotting in the local fishing industry's backyard clearly auditioned for the role of biohazard level, ode to nightmare, and nailed it. And the cherry on this rancid Sunday? We got marooned behind a lumbering RV the size of a small continent, dragging a Jeep like a reluctant toddler. For what felt like a geological epoch, we stewed in that rolling stink cloud, the fumes hitching a ride on the breeze as Captain Slowpoke puttered out of town at half the speed limit, because apparently, the universe decided our nostrils hadn't suffered enough. But hey, maybe the nasal torture was just the universe's twisted toll booth, because the second that RV lumbered off like a retiring dinosaur, we burst free of houses, traffic, and the stink zone. Right onto buttery smooth pavement that serpentined through curves so amazing they could make a roller coaster jealous. Worth it? Debatable, but those bends? Chef's kiss. Back on the east side of 101, we drop down to the broad Coquille River Valley and head briefly through the town of Coquille itself on our way into the hilly backcountry east of town. There we'd spend the next couple hours bombing through some awesome terrain, chasing phenomenal twisties all over the place. The planned route turned into a large loop eastward from Coquille, then swinging back through Myrtle Point before returning to PCH. Heading out, the road mostly carved through hilly, wooded terrain, carrying us up and over distant ridgelines, with occasional pastures breaking through the trees. At the apex of the loop, the land mellowed from hills into welcoming valleys with the road playfully hugging the edges of wide open fields. It gifted us a delightfully rhythmic roller coaster ride that just wouldn't quit, pure joy on wheels. Every now and then it would sneak under a shady tree canopy, but mostly the vistas stretched out wider and brighter than before. And oh, the weather was in on the fun too, warming up with every mile, the sun popping out like an old friend. Well, we did take one unplanned scenic detour. Missed a turn and suddenly found ourselves in a choose-your-own-adventure moment. We could have looped back to Myrtle Point either way, but the road we should have taken was the twistier grand-inducing one. Go figure. Then, in a plot twist worthy of a road trip comedy, the pavement just vanished for 300 yards. Who paves almost the whole back road but ghosts that one stretch? Baffling.
Okay, so we're going back across and then left?
Yes. There's a gravel segment of road, but when I look in the distance, I think it picks back up in pavement like 300 yards.
Anyway, once we reoriented ourselves, we turned around, tiptoed back over the bridge, and bravely bumped along the gravel till the sweet asphalt returned. Which is exactly why our club usually pre-drives the routes. From Myrtle Point, we swept west across the wide, lazy Coquille River Valley once more, then tucked in alongside Fishtrap Creek as it lured us up a narrowing side canyon. A quick hop over a ridge, a playful drop alongside Lampa Creek, and bam, we spilled back into the main river valley and rejoined Highway 101 in Bandon. What a gloriously fantastic ribbon of road. Slipping back onto Highway 101 South, we eased into a smooth coastal cruise, the perfect palate cleanser after all those twisty backroads. The weather pulled a full Hollywood makeover, cloudless skies, sun beaming like it had a hot tip, and the scenery? Straight up postcard material, Pacific Ocean sparkling on one side, Humbug Mountain posing dramatically in the near distance. We absolutely had to pull over for a photo op. South of Humbug Mountain, we ducked inland for another cheeky loop, this time threading a skinny valley that paralleled the coast, just one ridge shy of the ocean's front row. The road tossed curves at us like a hyperactive video game, zigzagging south with relentless energy. The road's shoulders were thick with greenery, keeping the views on a short leash, but every so often we'd glide past cozy homesteads where yards and pastures popped open like friendly little windows, waving us on. After miles of grins and gorgeous curves, Cedar Valley finally dumped us onto the north bank of the Rogue River. We were clipping along at a good pace, but by early afternoon our stomachs were staging a full mutiny. Lunch was calling. At the river we hung a left, chasing the current upstream on yet another deliciously twisty ribbon. It whisked us past a handful of riverside homes and over a creaky old wooden bridge, then funneled us onto a skinny one-lane span high above the water. Between the bridge and our lunch stop we were looking forward to yet another fantastic winding road. 17 miles of twists and turns following the Rogue River upstream to the settlement of Agness. But it turned out the whole route up was freshly chip sealed. 17 frickin' miles of loose gravel topping. Something bleepity bleep bleep expletive naughty word naughty word. We throttled back to Grandma with a walker speed, tiptoeing to keep the cars from slip sliding away on those loose gravel chips and dodging the pebble hail our tires were lobbing like angry confetti cannons. Felt like we were crawling at a glacial pace? Yup. Because we were the glacier, inching along with all the urgency of a Sunday nap. An epoch later we crossed the last bridge and pulled into the parking lot of the Cougar Lane Lodge. A popular resort catering to the jetboat tours plying the Rogue River and specializing in delicious barbecue. The sun was out in full and the temps were baking as we put the tops up to keep the hot sun off the seats. It was all worth it as lunch was fantastic and the setting sublime. Bidding a farewell to the Rogue River and the freaking 17 miles of cursed chip-sealed roadway, we steered our way back to the Grand Pacific, ready for some laid-back postcard-worthy coastal cruising to California. The day stretched lazily into a golden afternoon, the sun warming our backs while the ocean breeze, ever the charming companion, kept us cool and content. As we neared Brookings, we followed our usual habit of dodging Highway 101 for a twisty detour, this one climbing into the hills to dance along a ridgeline high above the Pacific. Sadly, the northern stretch came with bonus features, random patches of missing pavement, well marked but still nerve-wracking as they could show up at any moment. Each bend turned into a game of spot the gravel. Most gaps were short, but for one long stretch, gravel. Of all the roads we would drive on the entire trip, this was the most controversial among us. The twists and turns and curves of the road were fantastic, but was the entirety ruined by the poor road conditions at the start? In the late afternoon of our second day, we finally rolled across into Northern California. Wide open grasslands lit by low sun and a chill cruise along Crescent City's beach gave way to livelier stretches among the Del Norte Redwoods, trying to take advantage of the passing lanes and negotiate the sun-dappled curves. Technically, it's a highway, but it feels more like a thrill ride, one moment threading between towering trees, the next bursting out onto cliffs high above the sparkling Pacific. Coming down from the cliffs, we spotted one wild driver rocketing up behind us. We weren't exactly crawling along, but this guy was clearly auditioning for a Fast and Furious sequel. I eased over and let him blast past, no sense getting caught up in someone else's brand of crazy. Ahead, Cheese Factor 9, playing tourists in Klamath. After passing through the drive-through tree, we were making good time and still had plenty of daylight left. So, we decided to leave Highway 101 again and take a detour through more redwoods along the Newton B. Drury Scenic Parkway. It was a perfect early evening. The towering redwoods rose high above us as sunlight filtered through their branches, bathing the forest in soft, dappled light. At the southern end of the parkway, we pulled over at the Big Tree Wayside for a quick pit stop. Afterwards, we found ourselves setting off on a spontaneous hike beneath the towering redwoods. For most of us, it was our first real encounter with these ancient giants, some standing for more than 1,000 years, and the experience was nothing short of humbling. Walking among them felt almost sacred, as if we had stepped into another world where time moves slower and the sheer scale of the trees gently redefines your sense of place in the universe. We left Big Tree, crossed through Elk Prairie, and then drifted southward on a sunset cruise toward our evening destination of Fortuna. The Humboldt lagoons stretched out beside us, their serene beauty complemented by the winding road that seemed to dance along the coast. There was a gentle melancholy in the air. Perhaps it was just the golden hues of the setting sun, or perhaps it was the quiet realization that this was our last evening along the coast. Tomorrow, we would leave the ocean behind.